Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining in. I'm just going to wait for our guest to join us. I hope you all can hear me. Yeah. So please feel free to put in your questions at the bottom here and we can share them later. Hi. Hi, Arushi. Can you hear me?
Hi, Tanya.
Hi. How are you? There is a bit of a lag
Yes,
at
I
your
can hear you.
end.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Very
I
well.
can
How are
hear you.
you?
There's just all good, all good. There's a bit
Is
of a
it?
lag.
1 minute.
Yeah, I think it's better now.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think you can hear me and I mean, I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear.
It should be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Arushi, for joining us today. I'll just quickly
Thanks for
introduce
having me.
the subject of today's OPD. We're going to talk about enabling sustainable living through design and outreach. And I have with us today Arushi Wadhwa, who's the co-founder of Rope Design. So, Arushi, I will actually leave it to you to introduce yourself and
Yeah.
this work that you're founder.
Thank you. So we are Roped Design. We are two sisters. My elder sister, her name is Ashita. She's an interior designer. She founded this company back in 2014.
Mm.
And she started off with best out of waste products. She came up with a product line, a home decor product line.
Mm.
And gradually she got into budget interiors as well. And we did stuff like we made furniture out of wooden pallets, and we did a wallpaper out of old newspaper, and we did a backdrop using digitally printed fabric because the client did not have the budget. So we did a lot of such stuff for almost 6 to 8 months. And by 2015, I graduated as an architect. And I had worked with Center for Vernacular Architecture in Bangalore.
Right.
So I learned a lot about sustainability back in 2014, and kind of figured out how you can use locally available materials to build structures. So by 2015, we were back together in Delhi, and we started working as a team. And yeah, so we started with interiors and architecture both, and we did residential and a couple of commercial projects. So yeah, that's what we do.
Okay, very interesting. So, what is the sort of work that you're doing right now, and how is sustainability a key part of what you do?
So first, I'd like to talk about what exactly we do and how we perceive the field per se, because for us, it's always been very client centric. We try and make sure that it's more of an experience for the client more than anything else. So we do lesser projects at one point, but we make sure that it's done to the level that it's totally satisfactory for the client. And we've done stuff like we always make sure that we do stuff like we would save up all the site scrap for the end, and we would come up with maybe a product, or maybe do a terrace using all the site scrap, and we would redecorate and redesign it. So that's what we've been doing for all these years. And sustainability has been a very it's played a key role in both our careers, I would say, because when Ashita started, she made sure that she would use all kinds of stuff to make products like beer bottles or maybe ropes and cans and wine corks and all that. And when I joined, I was pretty clear that I don't want to use anything. No Italian marble is coming in my site, and I want to like promote locally available materials. Now that being said, it also really depends on the kind of client you've got. Some people don't understand that. Some people are very this thing that no, I want an Italian marble or I want this particular finish. So we've been lucky that way. We've gotten projects where the client kind of understands what kind of work we do. And yeah, we've always made sure that we use all Indian materials as much as possible. I would not say that it is completely sustainable because I think sustainability is more of a lifestyle. It's about how you approach from the beginning. It's not something that you do one thing and you have a sustainable approach. So it's a way of life, it's a lifestyle that you have to adapt and you keep learning. I mean, it's an ongoing process. You can't really tag yourself as a sustainable interior designer so soon. So yeah.
Okay, interesting. So as an architect, you mentioned, right, that every client will not be open to the idea of using either local materials or otherwise. But as architects and designers, how can we educate, according to you, how can we educate our clients and spread awareness around this, around the idea of sustainable, simple living?
Firstly, we need to make it clear that it's not difficult. It's not rocket science. For people, I was talking to another friend and she told me that she always thought it was something about what corporates do. And I was shocked that, I mean, this is something which is very simple. And thanks to the lockdown, a lot of people are talking about it in today's time. A lot of people are actually trying their best to do something sustainable out of their lives. So that being said, as interior designers and architects, it's extremely important to change the way we approach design. A client might not understand the word sustainability, but if you explain it to him in a way that, okay, this is going to save your money, and this is also going to look aesthetically pleasing, so I'm sure they would automatically be attracted towards it. If I tell them that buy smart lights, he might not like it. But if I tell him that, okay, this looks nice, this is cost effective, this is going to save your electricity bill, then he will have a different approach towards it. So it really depends how you're selling your design to them. And as designers, I think we should focus on a lot of, it begins with your site planning for sure. Like make sure that your site is well lit and you don't have any room without windows. Like a lot of people who don't approach designers, they end up having such spaces. So yeah, get the basics clear and always make sure that your spaces are functional. And now that we have the pandemic, I think we as designers need to make sure that we kind of design a space which can be used in multiple ways. Like we're spending, like I see it every day, we're spending most of our times at home. We are working in the same room, we're chilling in the same room, the same house. So, and it kind of gets to you at the end of the day, right? That it kind of gets to your mood and you're not motivated enough to work. So yeah, a lot of things. You could work on color psychology. Make sure that the colors of the room are nice. Add plants to your space. Use a lot of daylight. Make sure that you have multi-use furnitures. Like, for example, we recently installed a bed at one of our sites in Bangalore, which was actually a retractable bed. Now, the client, that was a guest bedroom for the client. And now that he's been locked down and he needs space in the house, so he was like, I need a proper workstation and I also need a bed, because what if, another 6 or 8 months down the line, my parents are visiting, where will they stay? So then, even though it costed a bomb for him, but the kind of approach he had towards it totally changed. So I think we're in a very good time. A little positivity out of the pandemic is that, yeah, the thought and the approach towards such thinking is getting
Yeah,
changed.
we're
Yeah,
all
people
we're all
are more
rethinking
adaptive.
design. We're all rethinking design.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
actually, in that context, is what we had to what we thought we'll discuss today is that outreach is what bridges the gap between what designers think and what the common man perceives design to be, right? It's
yeah,
the myth, like you said, there is a myth around sustainability that it's expensive, it's unapproachable, it's inaccessible. We don't know how to enable design, enable sustainability in our designs. So even if somebody has the intent of wanting to make their home sustainable, they don't know how to. So in that context, outreach becomes very, very important. So
yes.
how do you, as a studio, curate your content and enable outreach that drives your firm's design philosophy?
Okay, so we've been doing this since quite some time now, and it's not okay. Let me first be positive about it and tell you how we can do it. We've been doing a lot of exercises at our own respective spaces. Like Ashita has been into a lot of um, bioenzymes and using the best out of waste kind of content. And I've been doing a lot of small space designs because I am now in Bangalore and we have a small house and we're just trying every day is like you need this space for something else. Now I'm using my bedroom with my husband and I are using our bedroom and for our work desk as well as sleeping. So every day is a new challenge, right? So we've been talking a lot about reuse and we're talking about how colors play a major role in your day-to-day life. Then on a regular basis, we're also like how you and I are discussing right now about things to really uh, change about our day-to-day lives because we're in such difficult times. So yeah, a lot of such things. Things like yeah, so we've been saving our RO water and we're making sure that we use it in our daily errands. So things like that where you and I have to talk about it. If we don't, people will not look at it, right?
Correct.
That's the first step.
Yeah.
We have to and we have to be very honest about it. We can't make things up. These are very little things that we can do. Saving RO water is something which is happening. We waste so much water every single day, all our houses, right? And all of us think how can we save it, but we don't end up doing it because it's a tricky situation. So you have to talk about such things on a regular basis. Things like color psychology. Color psychology plays a major role in interiors, I think. Use the kind of colors that people are opting nowadays has totally changed. A lot of cool colors, a lot of pastels, and a lot of soothing colors. Then why are people buying so many plants? Because they want something different in their space, right? So these are the things that all of us are talking about, and we make sure that we even for our clients, like lately we've been so out and about it that we have to add these elements, even though it is going to cost you a little more, but in the longer run it is going to change the way you live. You have to opt for quality over quantity, right? You can't now buy 10 things which have no value versus you need to invest in like how our client actually procured that bed. So I was really amazed by the fact that, okay, people are doing such stuff. So yeah, I think we have to be very vocal about all the little things that all of us are aware of. Honestly, I personally was not really into sustainability ever since I came to Bangalore. Uh, it is something which kind of, so people in Bangalore, I think, are a little more towards nature and they're a little more sensitive. I think so. I don't know. But yeah, I think they are a little more sensitive towards such things. And uh, coming to Bangalore has really changed my perspective towards such small details about nature and saving things and all these things. I mean, you have to okay, I'll give you another example. So we're doing a site in Bangalore. It's a school project, and there are they've redone the entire. So they had to open in August, and now because of the pandemic, they don't know when they're going to open the school. So what we've done is that we've made sure that all our scrap of the site uh, is kept aside, because we want to give the client something which is going to really make her believe that as architects and interior designers, we're actually using this time and making sure that whatever our carpenters are doing, there is a thought gone behind it, right? If I'm going to tell my carpenter that use this particular board a certain way, only then he will use it. If I don't tell him to save that extra material, he's going to waste it. So you have to do such little communications and conversations with your team and with your clients to make sure that they kind of, even if they're not following the practice, it should just feed into their mind that okay, these guys are doing something about it. So yeah, that's what it is.
Very interesting. So this is all from the designer perspective, right? From the architect's perspective. As a consumer, what should one focus on? Especially, when if somebody wants to look at creating a sustainable home, or bringing sustainability into their life, what should the end user look at?
Firstly, believe that you need a professional to help you do that. Don't go to your carpenter, and don't go to your carpenter with Pinterest images and tell them to make stuff for you. As professionals, we are going to add value to your design. Let's not forget that. And as professionals, we are actually going to understand your requirement, the way you live, the way your day-to-day activities are. So we are definitely any professional is going to give thought to it. A carpenter will not do that. Secondly, hiring a designer is basically a psychological benefit for the client, right? It kind of works for them that okay, I'm going to redo my house because it is going to help me. It is going to keep me motivated. It is going to give me a functional space. It is going to help me spend time with my family, things like that. So it is a psychological benefit that we're looking at for the client. Now, for a client to really look for a sustainable interior designer, I think, like how we spoke about the outreach bit, if people are talking about sustainability on a daily basis, and if a client is looking at us and he is going to compare, for example, a rope design is doing sustainable interiors. How? By doing little things, by saving the scraps, the side scrap, by saving the extra to and fro of the commuting bit, by installing better light options, by using locally available materials, by going local, by approaching local brands, versus someone who is I would not say who does not have that approach. Some might have that approach, but might not do it in at such a sensitive level. So it really depends on the client's perspective, what exactly they are looking at. Like I said, that for someone, sustainability is not important. If I go and tell them that I'm doing all these things for you, they will not come to me. But if someone who has this thought in their mind that I'm looking for a sustainable designer, they will definitely look at these points and they will definitely come to you if you tell them about all this. So I think it really plays a important role about on how you're educating the client, how you're talking about your own company, how you're selling the right thing to the client, and not uh, for example, like how we spoke about using local available materials, right? If my client is telling me that no, I am not looking for a quota flooring, I cannot impose that thing to him, right? I have to tell him, I can only make him aware that okay, this is an option, but I can't impose anything to him. So as customers, you have to make sure that your designer is not imposing anything onto you, even though it is not a sustainable approach, it is a sustainable approach, it's okay. We have to, as customers, the main thing is to make sure that the designer is not imposing anything onto them.
Okay. So, you've spoken about how sustainability is actually a lot about process and not so much the final product, right? It is, like you said, it's a
Yeah.
life. It's, we're talking about sustainable lifestyles and sustainable living. Do you find challenges in curating your content to capture that process? Because as designers and architects, typically we are so focused on the final product that we never really pause during the journey to to document or to step back and say and see what is it that we are doing. How are we documenting it? How are we curating this content? Do you find such challenges in your process? You spoke about how the number of sites visits, for example, can be reduced, or picking out local brands versus picking out international brands, or other such smaller tools that are available. So, do you think that there are ways to overcome such challenges?
In terms of content,
Yes.
in terms of talking about it, I think creating content is a challenge anyway for designers, I think, because for us, our site takes so much time to really, the end product takes so much time for us to really document and talk about. One. Secondly, there are a lot of challenges in terms of, see, we don't have a hunky-dory life, honestly. We have site visits where we're talking to the labor and we're not well dressed, and the site doesn't look pretty every single day, right? So it is a challenge on a daily basis for us to create content. Having said that, I think in the past 3 to 4 months that we've really worked on our content, I would say the good days outshadow the bad days, really, because we recently made a video about how we can use a single box in different ways, and that video has really done wonders for us. So these are the things that we are trying, that we talk about, because we can't go to the site and we can't create content. But we're also talking about, I think we're also talking about, talking about things like sustainability, not in context with your site, also helps. It kind of generates a profile for all of us. If I'm not talking about it, it means I'm not thinking about it, right? So the fact that I'm talking about it only is going to convince my client that, okay, they have some sensitivity towards being sustainable. About the content, but because the time is so difficult right now, and we are all handling so many things at the same time, creating content is a challenge every day, I will not deny. But the good part is that there is so much to talk about, and there is so much information today on the internet that you can learn so much and you can educate so much. You can bring out so much awareness. So it really needs a lot of planning and a lot of thought. But the end product, after trying so many things, I think it totally works. It really helps in creating content. But I think if you're looking at creating content versus really, I mean, if I'm creating content and if I'm putting in, say, X amount of hours on my marketing bit, I cannot expect any client immediately out of this. Do you get what I'm saying? That we can only focus on building a community right now. We can't expect anything apart from that.
Of course.
because the
But
time is
outreach is
such.
not always towards getting business, right? Outreach is also to
Yes.
put out your own ideas. That's why it's outreach. And getting business is a
Yes.
different aspect of.
So yeah, so building a community and talking about it uh, without any without any everyday site updates is a challenge for all of us, because till when are you going to really talk about your ideas and your what work you've done? But having said that, the good days are so motivating, and they're so they uplift your mood so much that you keep at it. I think yeah, Instagram and other mediums are such that they can get really daunting at times, and they can really mess up with your mind. But when you meet new people, you learn new things, you get to know new ideas. I think they really make the day.
So, if there were three things that you would suggest to enable better sort of content curation, right? Like you said that you're making this video on on how to reuse a box. What just any three tips that you could give other younger architects, people who are starting out their work? What would those three things be to enable better content curation and outreach?
Talk, I think, be honest, be very out and about things. Don't think that any kind of content is small or big. Like how I mentioned about using RO water, I mean, this is something very, it can sound very silly, but it is something which is really impactful. So yeah, keep at it. It can be very challenging because we are not meant for such things. Like we're not professionally trained for such work, right? We are architects and designers. We don't know how to do all this, but we need to be very confident about what we are doing. And yeah, just be very out and about things. It's okay if you're going wrong. I mean, it's totally fine. But yeah, talk about things. uh, Try a lot of new things, I would say. Like nowadays, with the kind of marketing that everyone is doing, anything you buy, it says recycle, reuse, stuff like that, right? So give it a thought and do something about it, because you have so much time and you're educated, and we know what are the repercussions of wasting items. So be thoughtful and be sensitive and do something about it. Don't just scroll down things and think and procrastinate, but yeah, do stuff. So yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I'm going to just take a few questions before we close this session. This was really insightful. A lot of people have commented on, I think, your guest room example. Somebody's asked, if you have a small space, don't you think plants in the living room or the bedroom may end up occupying space? Any particular plants that you suggest?
I think you should take a lot of succulents. I recently goofed up with one succulent and I was feeling horrible about it. But yeah, educate yourself about plants and do opt for succulents. And if you're down south, you can definitely use money plant. I think that does wonders. And yeah, do a lot of indoor plant knowledge, and yeah, that's what you can do. I think I've recently added a heart plant into my bathroom because I know it doesn't need any maintenance. So it's not only succulents, it could be any heart plant also, which doesn't need so much care, and it can do wonders to your space. But make sure that you add plants to every space you can, because it totally changes the vibe, and it is eco-friendly, and it will change your mood like anything.
Okay. And how does one approach commercial buildings with vernacular materials?
Good question. See, commercial buildings have a lot of challenges like time and budget, the two main things, right? So try and figure out what is locally available for you. Try and understand what the carbon footprint is to source that material. Uh, Nowadays, we have accessibility to a lot of materials, but that doesn't mean that it is sustainable. You have to understand that what kind of a carbon footprint every sourcing is really happening. Apart from that, make sure that you use multi-utility furnitures. Like we recently did a studio for a photographer in Gurgaon, and so it was a really small space, and there were about 15 people who had to work out of that space. So we did those retractable tables for them because they had to eat in the same space, and then eventually, if the season was high, they would hire more people. So so we did stuff like that. We picked up a retractable table for them. Then we opted for so another interesting way of going local is hire your look for metal finishes, because that is something which your local fabricator can easily achieve, and you will promote local business, and you will make sure that and the kind of finishes that you can achieve out of metal is mind blowing. And that is something that really suits well for commercial spaces. So opt for different materials that can promote local businesses, and don't go for things which are really going to increase your carbon footprint.
Okay, another one is, what's the biggest myth that you've heard related to sustainable homes?
That it is something that corporates do and we can't do it. It is not something like that. I think it is a way of life, and everyone can do their little bit and do something sustainable on a daily basis. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think it's the last question for the day. What are your thoughts on maintaining a sustainable home?
Yeah, so firstly make sure that you're designing and you're picking up furniture which is maintenance free. Pick up finishes which are economical and maintenance free. Like laminate is something which is totally maintenance free. You can easily wipe the surface. Opt for multi-utility furnitures which has space for your sanitizer and your cleaning wipes and all that, because that is something which we all need on a regular basis. And yeah, organize yourself. Look for organizers online. Have a dedicated space for everything. Take care of your dustbin, take care of your paperwork, take care of your pen stand, and just make sure that everything is nice and clean on a daily basis. And make sure that you clean it on a regular basis, because we all need to be safe.
Great. Thank you so much, Arushi. This was very, very insightful. Thank you for sharing your
Thank
experience
you.
with regards to
Thanks, Hannah.
sustainable design. You're right, sustainability is a way of life, and I think we all start at home. And in the current context, we're
Yeah.
mostly home, so this is where we can
Yeah.
start living sustainably. Thank you very much for being a part of the episode.
Thanks, Hannah.
Have a good day.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye.